Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and today we have another humble bundle of interest to game developers, specifically Python game developers, and more specifically, Python game developers that don't buy bundles already, because this one we've seen before. I think we may have even actually seen this one twice before, but that doesn't mean it's a bad bundle by any means. If you are looking for Python-related books, especially around the topics of math and game development, this is a pretty good bundle. It is the Learn You More Python by No Starch Press bundle. And I guess the more Python kind of makes it different than the previous bundle, which was the Learn You Some Python by No Starch Press. But when we start looking between these two bundles, we got a decent amount of overlap. So we got Mission Python, Code a Space Adventure Game, Teach Your Kids to Code, Invent Your Own Computer Games with Python. We head on over here. Let's go take a look at some of these things. Teach your kids to code, and so on. But we got some new stuff in here, like learn to program with Minecraft, and so on. So let's go take a look at the bundle. As always, these are organized into tiers. You buy a higher dollar value tier, you get all of the tiers below it. This one is from No Starch. They generally make pretty good quality books. And around the theme of Python, a lot of entry-ish level stuff, but definitely game development related. There's quite a few game-related books here. So at the $1 tier, you're getting Python for Kids, you're getting Mission Python Code a Space Adventure Game, you're getting Teach Your Kids to Code, a parent-friendly guide to Python programming, and you get Learn to Program with Minecraft, transform your world with the power of Python. So that's actually a pretty nice introduction if you are looking for literally an introduction. We're very much kid-oriented at that tier. But as you can see here, we're looking specifically about games, and 2 entry-level books aimed at kids. So if you are in that niche, and just because something's aimed at kids doesn't mean that you can't also learn as an adult. It's just going to be the approach is much more kid-friendly. Now, the medium tier, we're looking at about $8 or $9 right now. And we get another game-related book, Invent Your Own Computer Game with Python, which is currently in the 4th edition. You get Doing Math with Python. You get Cracking Codes with Python, Serious Python, and Math Adventures with Python. So again, another directly game-related book. And then we've got a math book. And then we're starting to get into more, 2 math books. And then we've got more advanced level stuff. We're not talking about introductory kids anymore. So if you're a little bit more advanced in your programming experience and you want to learn Python, that's probably the tier you're looking at. And then finally, we jump up to the $22.09 Canadian tier, which is $15 USD. You're getting Python Crash Course 2nd edition, automate the boring stuff with Python, and quite frankly, that is where Python's niche really nailed it. So in build automation systems, there's a lot of companies that the duct tape holding them together is Python. Also machine learning and language processing. But those are the areas where Python really shines. In the world of computer graphics, Python is the lingua franca. It's Frank's language. The lingua franca, I can't say it now. It is the de facto language for graphics programming. Just one of those things to be aware of. Then we got Real World Python, a hacker's guide to solving problems with code. Beyond the basic stuff with Python, Python one-liners, which is basically code samples, eloquent Python-type examples, and finally, natural language processing with Python and Spacey. So an interesting collection of books. Basically, this is one of the few times where they've tiered it in a logical manner. A lot of times, humble bundles are basically tiered so that the best stuff is in the highest tier. And normally there's 1 or 2 tempting things in the low tier. This one actually kind of tiered by skill level. So at this beginning level, you've got 2 gaming books and 2 introductory books, all aimed mostly at kids. This one isn't specifically, but Minecraft programming. And then in the mid tier, you kind of got your general audience kind of introduction to Python type books, another one on games, and 2 more on math. The big thing here is these are not specifically targeted at kids anymore. So more if you're just interested in learning Python, maybe you've got another language under your belt, this is probably the tier you want to come in at. And then the final tier, this is more for like either an experienced programmer that wants to learn about Python as quickly as possible, or for Python programmers that basically want to get better at what they're doing. So in some ways, you could read this tier after you finished reading this tier. Now again, this is a repeat. We've had a number of No Starch Press bundles in the past, but there is enough things in here on math, on game development, that I definitely had to cover it yet again on the channel. I just do want you to be aware. Do check your library. Make sure that you don't automatic or already own some of the books that you are most interested in here. If you are a digital hoarder like myself, you probably have the majority of books here. Now, the nice thing here is you get the books in all 3 major e-reader formats, PDF, EPUB and Mobi. The nice thing also is you can download them at will. So as you develop your library more and more, you can just basically head on into your library, search for the topic you're looking for. And if you're like me, you probably have a dozen books on the subject. So an interesting bundle for sure, but definitely one that has run a couple times. And obviously, if you're not into Python, Learn Use More Python is not going to be the bundle for you. But if you are a Python developer, almost regardless to what level you are working at, if you are teaching your kids, or if you want a really basic introduction with a heavy game focus, or you yourself you want to learn, or finally, you already know it and you want to learn a little bit more, that is a kind of neatly tiered bundle. I do like this. I like the idea of tiering it based off of the sophistication of the reader. So if you're just getting into it, it's easy to spend $1. But if you already know what you're doing, $15 US is less than the cost of a single book here. So Humble Bundles are always a bargain. Now, do be sure to check that the edition is relatively current. I think in most cases here, I haven't checked them all, but in most cases, I think you're up to date. So basically, it boils down to if there is a single book in this bundle, the entire bundle makes sense to buy. And really, that's all I have to say on the subject. Again, I'm going to finish this one with a final warning. Do make sure that you haven't already got the book you're interested in. If you are a hoarder like myself, No Starch books come up quite often. And as I mentioned earlier on, there was specifically a Learn You Some Python by No Starch bundle in May that contained about half of the books we're seeing here. Now, you're seeing there's a lot of things that weren't necessarily here, but this one, not those two, a handful. So I think about a 50% overlap with the previous bundle. So make sure that the book you're particularly interested in is actually new. But otherwise, pretty interesting bundle. Let me know what you think. Comments down below, and I will talk at you all later. Goodbye.